Hey guys, good afternoon. We are going to make a Minnie Mouse wreath. So go ahead and get you some black mesh. I've got 4 of the 6-inch black mesh here from Dollar Tree. I've also got a 10-inch roll of black, which is something I had here on hand. So I am going to use it as well. I can't tell you how much of it's on there because it was used previously. And I've got 4 of the pink 6 inches from Dollar Tree. I think I got them from Valentine's Day. And some pink tulle, which I don't use, but it is there in the picture. But at the end, I decided not to use it. You are going to need those 2 little wreath forms from Dollar Tree, and you're going to need the bigger one, which is the 14-inch wreath form from Dollar Tree. And the, you're going to need zip ties. I forget to tell you, zip ties, you're going to need those. You're going to need the smaller ones. This pack here has all different sizes in it, and I do use the pink ones out of here, which are the smaller. They're probably around 3 inches long, and I also use some black ones, which are tick longer, maybe a 5-inch long zip tie black one. So you're gonna need black and pink zip ties, and you're gonna need your glue gun. And go ahead and get your wreath form ready. We're gonna go black mesh all along the bottom. You're just going to put half black, half pink. And I'm thinking, if I remember correct, I used 3.5 rolls of pink across the bottom of the 6-inch, and then I used a piece of that black mesh right there. I'm showing you the 10-inch black mesh, but I had some that I had taken off of a wreath that I had used previously. So you're going to see it in here in just a second. And so it's not pretty, don't look at it, but it works, and it served a purpose. And right there it is. See, it's all kind of rolled up. It doesn't even have the cardboard center in it. So, but I use it, and I use every bit of it, and it works great. And so I can't tell you exactly how much was there on that little, it was not much. So you're not even going to use a whole roll of your 10-inch roll if you have a 10-inch roll. So, but I can tell you, you're going to use 3.5, or is it 2.5? Oh crap. Anyway, it was 2.5 pink rolls or 3.5 pink rolls. It honestly, your wreath may be totally different. You can use whatever you want, however thick you want your wreath is, or however fluffy you want it. Your wreath may come out totally different than mine. You may use more, you may use less. So there's no right or wrong way to use mesh, and there's no rule about how much you can use or how less to use. So you go with it and make it your own. But here, all I'm doing is starting here at the side of the wreath form, and I'm just going to zip tie this black on, and all I'm going to do is start pulling the black mesh up through. I'm going to start on the outer run, and I'm going to pull up about a 3-inch loop, maybe 4-inch. Well, I kind of adjust it and get it back down. So you're probably looking at about a 3-inch loop, maybe 3.5-inch loop. Then you're going to come to the center run, and you're going to pull up another loop, and just make sure your loops all match. They don't have to be perfect, because like I said, it's mesh. Mesh, there's no right or wrong way. And it doesn't have to be perfect. That's the whole thing about crafting and making wreaths with this mesh. The mesh is so forgiving, you never know if you really made a mistake or not, because you can hide it. So you play with it. You make it what you want. You make the wreath. You don't even have to use the technique I'm using here of just pushing the pieces up through each run. So I start out and I make a loop on the first run, a loop on the second, and then I pull up here at the last one, and I make 3 loops. Now, I'm going to tell you, this is not the easiest wreath technique. If you have issues with your hands, you may want to go a whole different route and make it totally different. Because this was really hard on my hands, because you have to hold this mesh and get it started. So you have to hold that, and then you got to go start back out on your outer run and go work your way in again. So you go 1, 2, 3 poofs. And so you got to hold all this with your hand. Now, you can stop and turn it over and put a zip tie in to help you hold it. And that's what I do. Every so often I do turn it over and I do put a zip tie in to help hold my mesh in place. Because like I said, it was really hard on my hands, and my hands want to cramp a lot of times if I'm holding something tight like that. So I do stop and put zip ties in under mine to hold it. Just because my hands can't hold all that. But you're going to work your way all the way around, halfway around your wreath till you come to that other side. So you see here me struggling. I'm trying to hold it and trying to push it all up in. Trying to figure out how to get that thing to start again. So you're going to start on your outside run. And you're going to go in 1, 2, 3 again. And you start over. Each time you just go to your outside run, work your way in. Pull it back through, go to your outside run. You know, and it's just that over and over and over. And just make sure your loops are as close as possible. They don't have to be perfect. You make it the way you want to make it and make it your wreath. Like I said, this technique is extremely, extremely hard on your hands. But it is pretty at the end. But it is one of the tougher ones because you have to hold all that. And the mesh, sometimes, this mesh was probably harder for me to work with because it wasn't on the roll and it was already kind of had its form. It already had been molded into another shape on the other wreath, and it was kind of hard for me to work with anyway. So it may be easier just to work with it straight off of a roll. But you can see here how pretty it, once it gets all the way around, you'll see how pretty it is. And this technique is just really poofy and, but it's hard. It is hard on your hands, but it's pretty. But there I'm checking my poofs, trying to make sure my poofs are at least something similar. If they're not, then you have to kind of pull them back through and make sure you kind of get them as even as you can. They don't have to be perfect. And then see here, I'm going to zip tie it. I have to. At this point, I can't hold anymore. So I'm going to zip tie it and make sure it is secure and help me hold it for the rest of the way around. And the little zip ties get kind of aggravating too. It's kind of hard because you're trying to hold that mesh and you're trying to stick that zip tie up under that little run, and you know, to where it's going to hold it, because you got to come up through your mesh too and grab your mesh and make sure it's zip tied tight to that little run in order to keep it in place. See, and you got to kind of bunch all this up again and push it through up under your form and start all over again. You can see here, this mesh is giving me a fit. So my hands are like, oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore. It's killing my hands. But I worked with it and it worked out great. Like I said, in the end, I was happy with everything. And I'm probably going to work it all the way, if I remember correct, I worked it all the way up to that next little run there. And then I put another zip tie in at those little markers. Those in between each section, there's a little run that runs out. And that's where you want to put your zip ties to help hold it right there. Every one of those you want to put a zip tie. But in between, you might want to put a zip tie too to help you hold your mesh. and those little runs that run out. On some of the Dollar Tree forms, they have little pieces that hang out and they will catch your mesh, so you have to be careful with that. I promise I'm not going to make you watch this whole bottom portion of me putting all these pieces of mesh poofs up in between. I will show you, you know, make sure you do the whole half. Oops, sorry guys, I picked it up to help me push that through. And it did come up out of the camera's view, and I apologize. But you see, this it takes time. I haven't even went through a whole section there. But just make sure you go all the way around and do your whole bottom half, just like this. Now, the next half is going to be your pink 6-inch mesh. 6-inch mesh. I can't talk. And you're going to start it just like you did your black. You're just going to zip tie it on. As soon as I get my fingers to work. And if I can get my little zip tie to cooperate here in just a second. Takes me just a second to get it up under there. Like I said, my hands were already cramping from doing all that black. And just turn your wreath back over. And go ahead. Of course, I think I started on the inside here. I thought it might be a little easier to start from the inside from the way I had zip tied it on. So it doesn't matter which way you start, whether you start on the outside run or the inside run. You make your little poof. And you run it up through your center. Just reach through and pull it up. Making sure my poofs match. And then go down through the last run on the outside there. Go ahead and pull up your next poof. Should have 3 poofs. And I'm going to go ahead and put a zip tie on this outer one here to help me hold it. Because it did, like I said, it took me a little while longer to hold that black. So this time I thought it'd be easier to go ahead and put a zip tie in to hold it. Because at this point my hands were hurting pretty bad. So I'm making sure my poofs are still the same after I done that zip tie. And I promise I'm not going to make you watch the whole bottom being done with the pink. So I know that's kind of boring, kind of like watching paint dry. So, but I just want you to kind of see, get the concept of how it all goes. And I'm sure your black is going to look prettier than mine. Like I said, mine had already been molded into a shape from a previous wreath. But I do go back at the end and I do fluff mine out and make it look better than what it looks right there. So I did have to reshape everything. And just remember, just pull it up through the end, go to your second run. And whatever side you start on is the one you're always going to go back to start your first one over. If you start from the inside and you end on the outside of your wreath form, you're going to pull it back through and go to your inside run and do your poos from the inside out. Hope that makes sense. And if you start from the outside, you're always going to go to your outside, do a 3 poos, and then once you finish your third poof on from the inside, you're going to pull your mesh to the back to your outside, pull a poof up, because if you try to pull your poof up again from where you ended, it's just going to pull your mesh right out. There's just no way you can put it, start on the same side you end on. You have to pull it, go all the way back to the center or to the outside and start over. Everything has to be exact. And looking here, I'm pretty sure I used 2.5 now, because this is a full spool of mesh, and it does end up going over a little bit and then ending. So that was my half that I had left over right here. And I'm just going to go ahead and zip tie it off here on the back. So you can see I'm pretty sure I just used 2.5 spools. And if you hear water dripping, I'm actually sitting outside. It has just got done raining here, and I hear water dripping, and it's just kind of soothing. So thought I'd do my voiceover outside today. And go back and make sure you cut off all your zip tie ends that are hanging out. And like I said, after you get done with all this, you can turn it back over and fluff all your pieces up the way you want them. Now it should look like this. It should have black and half pink. See? And then just go back and pull your pieces and fluff them the way you want them. Now we're going to need our little ones. We're going to start on our ears. And here I'm using my little 6-inch rolls from the Dollar Tree. And it took two for form to make the ears. And this was a little harder because they're smaller, and it was a little harder to pull those things up through, but it worked, and they were really, really cute. Same concept as the big frame or form, wreath form. You're just doing your little poofs, pulling them up through, and you can make them 2 or 3 inches, depending on what you want on your ears. And you just zip tie your mesh on to start with. And go ahead and pull your first little poof up. And just kind of look at it and see, eyeball it and see what size poof you want. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull my second one up here. So of course, we don't have but 2 here because this little wreath form only has two runs instead of 3. And for the ears, you're going to go all the way around. All the way. And now, when you're done, and I wished it would have happened that fast. This little ear took me a little bit of time. And you're just going to zip tie your mesh off. And go ahead and cut your little pieces that are hanging out from your zip ties. And honestly, when you go around these ears, you can make it a little, you don't have to be as thick on one side because you can put that side towards your black on your main wreath form. Or you can pick a side that's not as poofy. Like this side was a little flatter. I went with this side to actually go against my frame. So you can just remember you can lighten up on the bottom the side that's actually going to your big wreath form, and that'll save you some mesh. And so I did the same thing on this one, and then I'm just gonna eyeball where I'm gonna put it, and I'm actually hooking it to the second run on the main form. I take I used 3 zip ties on this first one and then realized I didn't need 3. I just need 2 hooked together. So I'm just trying to find out where I need to put them because you want them to be up there and be kind of stiff once you get them on. And you put your ears where you want them. So you might want them more down on the side, a little bit more room in between them. And that's kind of what I was trying to do here, trying to eyeball, you know, where I needed to have them sitting on top of the head. And I'll show you 3 zip ties. And you'll see that I'm just going to put them together to make them longer. But you only need 2, so don't waste that 3rd one. See, I'm going to put a 3rd one on, so don't do it. You don't need it. Alright, and just go pull your mesh apart. And you're going to go down to the 2nd run on your head. Yep. And go all the way up through to your 2nd the center run on your ear. Because you want these to be good and stiff and hold tight against the head. You don't want them flopping around. You'll see me separate it, and I'm showing you the 2nd run there. 1, 2. Go up past the 2nd run. So you're actually putting 2 of those wire runs into your zip tie. The 1st and the 2nd one. This just makes it hold tighter to the head. Go ahead and make sure your zip ties are good and tight all the way around. See, you want that to hold stiff. And then you can push your mesh all back around. See there, it holds stiff, it's not moving. And that's what you want. And now this one you're going to do the same way. 2 zip ties, not 3. See, just 2. Okay, you're going to go down in between your mesh. Find that 2nd run. And go right up in between that mesh there to that 2nd little run on your ear. Make sure it's where you want your ear. And tighten her down. Now you can go back and cut those zip ties off. The long ends. Just cut the long ends off. Oh, I'm adjusting it there to make sure it's tighter on the bottom on that one. Just cut those long pieces off. Okay. And you see how stiff my ears were? They didn't flop around. So that's what you want. See there? I'm shaking it to show you that they're on there. They're not flopping around. And then you're going to put your bow right there in the center. Now, you're going to put your door hanger on the back. So I just run it down to the second run, and I just twist this. This is just a pipe cleaner, and I just twist it on both sides. I already twisted the first side there. And then you just get it to the length you want, and then you just start twisting this other side. Yep, just so, like so. Just twist her all the way up. Make sure that little wire's not sticking out. And there's your little hanger, and you can just slide that hanger around wherever you want it. So, and you can make them as long as you want or as short as you want. So now, what I'm doing here is my ribbon, that pink ribbon with the white polka dots in it, is not wired. And I thought, I'm not going to go buy any more ribbon. I'm going to use what I've got. So I went and found some in my stash that was wired. So that gold is the exact same size as that pink, and we can do that and glue it to it, or we can glue it to this burlap pink. So I chose to use the burlap pink, and I'm going to use Aleene's Tacky glue from the Dollar Tree. That burlap, that pink burlap is from Dollar Tree. Now the pink ribbon with the white polka dots, I think come from Hobby Lobby. And the gold I got at Walmart at Christmas time. But I don't use the gold. I decide that I want that pink underneath that other one, just to kind of give it an offset. I lay it on there like that to see if I like that. And I decided I want to see that pink behind it. I just thought that pink burlap just kind of gave it an extra look. Yeah. So I decided to go with that. I cut a 30-inch piece of both. I cut a 30-inch piece of my pink ribbon and a 30-inch piece of my burlap pink. So I kind of hold it up and I try to makeshift a bow to see how long I want it. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm sorry I'm off camera, but I'm just kind of mess with to see how long I want my bow or how big I want my loops to be. Just a simple bow. Oops. Sorry, I got my ribbon twisted there and didn't mean to. But you can see here, all I'm doing is making two big loops. Big loop, and then my next big loop. Nothing crazy bow, just a simple bow. And I kind of like that size there, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it off. And my scissors aren't sharp, so make sure you have sharp scissors, guys. So I'm going to measure this pink ribbon here real quick, and it comes out to 30 inches. So I know I need to cut 30 inches of my, or actually I cut my other one just a tick longer. The burlap pink, because I wanted it to hang out just a little bit on the ends. So I just made sure to cut it just a smidgen longer. I'm just measuring it out. And then I realized I wanted to make it just a little bit longer. But you guys make your ribbons however long you want them, however big, and if you want to make extra poofy bows, go for it. This is just simple and cute, and I'm making this for my niece's birthday. She's going to be 2 in October, and her birthday is Minnie Mouse theme, and so this is just a Minnie Mouse inspired wreath, and it's going to be for her birthday party. So when you put Aleen's Tacky glue on burlap, yes, it's going to come through, so you'll see me wipe my glue up here in just a minute. And I have a piece of fabric that fell on my hand, and now I'm going to have to move it out of my way. So just go ahead and stick you on some Aleen's Tacky glue. And I don't think I've got it on camera, but after I put the ribbon down on here, I did take my hot glue gun, and every so often I went up under and put a dot of glue to help hold the ribbon to it while that Aleen's Tacky glue dried. Yep, see my glue on my mat? But it's just a cutting mat, so it's nothing really to worry about, but I do wipe the glue off. And I do pick this ribbon up and I turn it over and lay it up over out of the way so it does dry. So now that I've got all this glue everywhere, I'm going to have to wipe it off. Well, I'm taking my time because I had to find my wipes. There we go. Now, just make sure I'm wiping up my glue because we don't want it to stick back on our wreath when we lay it up here. But don't forget, you can go ahead and stick some hot glue under there, and make that way it'll hold to it while the Aleen's Tacky glue is drying. So just set this aside and let her dry. Now, I have a Cricut machine, and if you don't, it's okay. I just took some white felt and cut out some little circles, 1-inch circles. You can cut bigger, you can cut smaller, but I did 6 1-inch circles. And now I'm just going to hot glue them onto my pink. Just like Minnie's little dress with her polka dots. And you just stick them around wherever you want them. Just kind of space them out. My niece doesn't know I'm making this for, it's my great niece's birthday. So she doesn't know, nobody in my family knows that I've made this wreath. So I'm going to show them before I actually post this. So might be a day or so before I actually get this posted. And there's your little white dots. Just, you stick them wherever you want to stick them. Now, to make my bow, I'm just rolling it over here. And my Aleen's Tacky glue isn't quite all the way dry, but it's dry enough to go ahead and do my bow. And go ahead and get your loops up there the way you want them. And then I take another piece of that pink and white polka dotted ribbon after I get my bow the way I want it. Go ahead and pinch your center of that bow like I do here in just a second. You'll see me pinch it up. As soon as I get it back on camera. Now, here we go. Now just pinch it right there in the center. And just hot glue another piece of that pink ribbon. See, I just have the pink ribbon itself, nothing else behind it. And I'm just going to use that for my center. And I actually cut the piece a little big, but it's okay. And go ahead and get that hot glued on. As soon as I get my bow adjusted the way I want it. Sorry about that again, guys. I went off camera, but it's okay. I was just trying to get that back piece to lay down flat so I could go ahead and work that around. And now I can just go ahead and cut that long little tail off on the back. My scissors, like I said, aren't sharp, so bear with me. And then I'm going to go back and go ahead and glue that little piece down right there. Now I'm going to go ahead and put more glue on the back of my bow and on the bottom because I'm actually going to glue the bow to the top of the head here. Just right in there. Oh, and I forgot to dovetail my ends of my bow. So let's go ahead and get those dovetailed real quick. Just fold up your ends and then cut your little V's on the ends. Mm-hmm. Give me a second.
Why'd you let him tear up that pillow?
Huh?
Why'd you let him tear up that pillow?
I didn't. And there we go. Got you them little doughy tails. And there's your pretty little bow. Now her bow is a little different shade of pink from her dress, of course, but it's okay. Go ahead and get you some glue on there, and then get it put right there at the top of the head, and get it stuck down in between your mesh. That's what I'm doing. I'm picking it up so I can eyeball it and push it down in between the mesh. And I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit more glue on the back side of that bow here in just a second, I believe. Pretty sure I glue it a little bit more because I'm worried about it coming off. Yep. Yep, I'm going to go ahead and glue some more right there. I don't think it's stuck down like I like it. And then you can take the ends of your bow and bend them up the way you want them. There you go.